Right, okay, so today I wanted to do a video about a topic which I've sort of not really been particularly clued up on for the longest time. And I think really it's the multi-tap delay is what we're talking about. I want to talk about it in a general context first. Essentially what the multi-tap delay is, or multi-tap delays in general, are delay algorithms or pedals which have more than one delay line, is one way to think about it. I think initially these came from like tape delays, so I think the Echoplex and stuff, Maestro, I think they developed a few of these things where you'd have multiple delay heads, and the idea is that you have, you know, one delay with one setting, you have another delay line, and you can have in the FM3, you know, 4 in the multi-tap delay. Anyway, this stuff kind of found its way into rack units with things like Eventide and Lexicon, which I think is what this PCM stuff is based on. Now we've got a few types really now in the Fractal world, you know, 2 pages of stuff, so you've got 33 types there. So I just wanted to show you some of my ones that I found today that I really liked. Also, just talk about, you know, what it is that these things are actually even doing. So if we go into the master, you see you've got a few different bits and pieces. So time, I guess with delay in general, we know what that's going to mean. Feedback, again, we generally know what that's going to mean. That's going to mean how long the actual delay repeats continue for. The fact that they're master, I think this is a way to generally change every line at the same time. Pan, you know, that's left to right, obviously, because you've got different delay heads, you can pan them around. LFO rate, so there is in the back of the Fractal delay and LFO which can modulate different aspects. Filter, so this is a thing that you can filter each delay repeat, I think. And then there's chorus, comb time, ring mods, all of this stuff which is, you know, getting a little bit complicated for me. And then a drive to dirty those things up. The diffuser is a thing which I think is important. Now if I turn off the reverb, you'll be able to get a sense for what the diffusion does. If we put this diffusion mix all the way up to 100, you'll hear what it is that this is doing. So you can think about this as sort of smearing the delays. And this essentially is what reverb is. It's like multiple delays together diffused. If I take that back down to 0, you'll hear that the repeats are really clear, and you know, you can diffuse them to 100%. You get that really cool thing going on there. So ducker will then also, you know, duck the delays when you're playing above this threshold, and then bring it back up when your playing gets below that threshold. We can turn on this envelope follower, and I think this sort of swells things in. You can give it like a softer attack with the envelope follower. We go to this delay page, so this is what this stuff is really about. You have time 1 through to 4, and these are actually discrete kind of delay lines. So you have the time 1, time 2, time 3, time 4, so 4 different delay repeats. You could set feedback for each of them, which is kind of funky, and then pan each of them. And this is something I want to spend a bit more time getting into, really, because although it kind of looks complicated, if you just think about it as 4 separate delays and you're kind of treating them in that way, it's kind of less intimidating. You've got an EQ there as well, and then mods on each of them, and the last page mix, which is pretty obvious what that does. So some of the things that I found on here that I really like the sound of, let me just reset this, were the ALLAN SWELL LONG. Right, if I just go back and bypass the reverb, you'll hear what we're doing. ALLAN Holdsworth actually really important for the development of the multi-tap delay in a lot of ways, partly because he was responsible for encouraging Yamaha to put it in the UD Stomp. Prior to that, he was mostly, you know, using rack units. This is mostly belonged in rack units up until that point. Let me know in the comments if you've got favourite multi-tap delay pedals out there. Maybe the Strymon Volante might be a good thing that does this sort of thing. Anyway, so yeah, the Allen Holdsworth Swell Long sounds like this. And you've actually got some of these other options in here which are really nice. So lead long, clean long, worth a look at each of them. Then the other stuff that I liked, PCM Pan. I think this is based on like a Lexicon type vibe. Also, the PCM Circular is definitely worth a look. And don't forget, you could even go in here and you could say, right, I want to get a little bit funky and turn up diffusion time and diffusion mix and get some really nice tones that way. Then if I change this to channel B, we've got the quad diffuser, and this is really nice too. But you know, you've got so many different bits and pieces here to start from. You know, I think it's 100% worth checking these out. I think Leon Todd is responsible for some of these. But I would encourage you, if you're a Fractal person and you haven't yet, to go and check some of these out. I think there's some incredible stuff for kind of experimenting. Just something I wasn't so aware of that I think I want to spend some more time. that's something that definitely I've seen Leon Todd talking about, using the multi-tap to create kind of flanging effects. Not the sort of sound that I'd use much, but these quad series delays and stuff. And the diffusers are 100% things that I would use often now that I know about them, and the PCM circular and the kind of Lexicon Inspired tones too. And also definitely some of these ALLAN tones. And I think pairing this with this kind of Nimbo Stratus reverb, really pretty tones there. So I just wanted to do like that little bit of video about discoveries that I'm making kind of on a daily basis with the Fractal stuff, and the beauty of the multi-tap delay, you know, born out of some of this rack tape stuff now possible. I think there's nothing really out there that can do it as thoroughly as the Fractal devices, but these kinds of multiple tap delays do exist elsewhere. The Helix has a couple. You can get them in plugin format. So leave in the comments your favorite examples of this stuff in the real world if you've got them. But that's something that's relatively new to me, and my favorite aspect of it, I think, is that diffuser, just because it can do some really beautiful things and chew up your CPU like nothing. Catch you in another video soon. If you want this preset, it's gonna be in the folder if you want to use the Buy Me a Coffee link. Feel free to do so. And what I was doing was using the channels to kind of just find some of my favourite multi-tap sounds. So that's kind of my experience with multi-tap so far. Catch you in another video soon. Cheers.